Hello everybody, good evening. My name is Martin Salvo and welcome to a weekly live Q&A where I sit here and answer partner visa questions. For those of you that don't know who I am, again, my name is Martin Salvo. I am a registered migration agent and senior immigration lawyer at Salvo Migration. We are experts in Australian partner visas, how to get Australian partner visas approved and how to find pathways for couples, either those offshore looking to come in, or if you're already in the country and looking to find ways to keep yourself here on the basis of your relationship with your Australian, or if you're the Australian looking to find ways to keep your partner, your loved one here, if you are in a relationship. I've got a question here quickly from Clarky Ann. You are on the stream, okay? So there's nothing more that you need to do. Anyone who would like their questions answered during this stream, all they need to do is just ask in the stream and I will broadcast the questions as they come through. I'll give it a few minutes to allow more people to jump on and for the questions to come through. Inevitably, it takes a few minutes. I do try to answer questions in the order in which they are asked. I try to approach it as fairly as possible. So the quicker you ask your question, the more likely that I will be able to answer it in the session. Typically, these sessions go for up to an hour. If I answer all the questions that are asked in the stream, I will then go into our private Facebook group, our Partner Visa Secrets Facebook group. So depending where you're watching this stream, you may not be in the group. You may be on our Facebook page, you might be watching on YouTube. So if you're watching on one of those platforms, please do join our private Facebook group because we answer members' questions every day. So this is our weekly live Q&A where I'll sit here and verbally answer questions, but every day myself and our other lawyers here at Salvo Migration answer members' questions for free. So if you're not a member of the group, please do join. There's other benefits in being associated with the group. We're always offering special discounts and deals and exclusive offers to people in that group. So I can see there's a couple of questions that have come through, so I'll start answering them. And like I said, if I get through all the questions that are asked, I'll jump in the group and I'll read the questions that have been asked and I'll answer them so that everyone can, I suppose, see my answers. So the first question is from an anonymous Facebook user. And guys, depending again where you are, if you're watching this on Facebook or in our Facebook group, there should be a link to give Ecamm Live permission for me to see your name. So if you would like me to answer your question personally and address you personally when I'm answering your question, please do give Ecamm Live permission for me to see it. That way I can address you personally. Otherwise, it's going to come through as an anonymous Facebook user. If you want to stay anonymous, no problem. But if you'd like to have a bit more of a personal association, please do give us permission. I've got the comment here. Hi, Martin. My question today is about the question H in Form 80 on my 309 application. So they've said 390, but it is the subclass 309, which is the offshore partner visa. Given the current situation, we have no plans to travel to Australia yet. How do I fill all those questions about travel, further stay, and addresses there? I'm very sorry, without having the Form 80 in front of me, it's a bit difficult for me to answer that accurately. I will try to work backwards and see if I can give you some guidance. We have no plans to travel to Australia yet. How do I fill all those questions about travel? Look, let's have a look at the Form 80, so I have that in front of me. While that's loading, I'll just quickly say, just generally to say, regarding the Form 80 or a Form 1221, which is another, let's say, character form, it's really about answering all of the questions to the best of your ability. The partner visa isn't going to be refused just because you have, answered something somewhat incorrectly. Okay, if you're trying to mislead the government or withhold information or you lie about particular facts, and if the facts that you have lied about or the information you've provided is misleading to the point where it impacts your eligibility for the partner visa, let's say such as that you are claiming that you and your partner were married on a certain day, but in fact you were married later. So you're claiming you were married earlier, but your actual marriage date is later, and that's proven by your marriage certificate. There's a contradiction there. If in your Form 80 or other government forms, you are claiming an earlier marriage date, that could be deemed as misleading information, and that is what's called material particular to the criteria of the partner visa. It means you're lying about something that's critical to the assessment of your eligibility for the grant of that partner visa. So just keep that in mind, okay? The issue with Form 80s generally is that it asks for a lot of personal information. It's very common for people to struggle to complete Form 80s. We get a lot of questions regarding Form 80s, very similar to the one that you've asked. You know, I don't know the date that I started working with this employer, or I don't know the date of birth of my brother that I haven't seen for 25 years, or I don't know the day that they were married, or the day my parents were married. If you don't know all of that info, it's okay. The partner visa will not be refused on the basis of an incomplete or a semi-accurate Form 80. It might slow down the processing of a partner visa because the more accurate your information is, the faster, you know, the government's internal cross-checks can be worked through. So that will have that does have implications to the speed in which a partner visa is processed. But generally speaking, don't stress too much about the Form 80. Just complete it to the best of your ability. To put it into context, in the 10 years that I've been working as a migration agent lawyer, I've never once seen a visa refused on the basis of, a slightly incorrect detail on a Form 80. Like I said, if it's because of fraudulent information, that's a totally different kettle of fish. Let's have a look at this section that you're referring to specifically. Part H, proposed travel or further stay. Are you currently in Australia? If you're applying for the 309, okay, question 21 is asking you, are you currently in Australia? So I'm assuming that you are outside of Australia, so you would tick no, okay? And then in terms of question 22, proposed travel. Why are you traveling to Australia? Include any relevant dates or events. In that section, you can just mention that you will eventually travel to Australia to be with your partner. That's the purpose of the 309, and it's fine to declare that in the Form 80. Do you have any proposed or booked travel dates for your journey to Australia? Presumably no, you don't. 24, are you applying for a temporary visa? You are not applying for a temporary visa, you're applying for a permanent visa. You're applying for a combined application. It's the 309 and the 100. So the 100 is the permanent stage of that combined application. So legally speaking, technically speaking, you're not applying for a temporary visa, you're applying for a permanent visa. So you would say, no, you're not applying for a temporary visa. That allows you to fast forward, skip ahead like a book to part I. So you can skip 25 onwards and go straight to part I, okay? And then it asks you for addresses in Australia. And if you're offshore, if you're preparing 309, if you don't have Australian addresses, you can also say no, and then obviously that simplifies the rest of that form. I hope that answered your questions, and I'm sorry again that I don't have your name to address you personally. We have a question from Ashwin from our YouTube channel. Guys, for anyone that doesn't know a bit about us, we post content on our YouTube channel weekly, if not more frequently. So please do have a look at our YouTube channel. There's a wealth of content there and information that if you're the type of person that really likes to study and learn about partner visa criteria, please go through our YouTube channel. There's a lot of info there that will help you understand more about partner visas. Ashwin, hello, do you have any idea about how long it will take for onshore subclass 500 dependent visa to be granted? I was waiting since 7 months. Ashwin, I'm very sorry, but the purpose of this stream is to talk about partner visas, Australian partner visas, not dependent student visas. So this is not the scope of this stream to answer that question. I'm very sorry. Next question. Ashwin, what I'll just say quickly, so that I don't completely disregard your question, all visas are taking a very long time to process, okay? And that's COVID. That's the implication of COVID that's affecting processing times globally. So that's offshore applications, onshore applications, everything's taking much longer. So to hear that you're waiting 7 months or more for a particular visa doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just, you have to understand it within the context of COVID. If you're really concerned about how long it's taking, you can always try to contact the department to see if they'll give you some type of update. It's very unlikely, but it's worth trying. Good luck, Ashwin. I hope that gets approved quickly for you. Next question. Stay onshore to apply for partner visas passed in Parliament. Do you think the stay onshore to apply for partner visa passed in Parliament? What you're referring to was the proposed changes to allow offshore partner visas to be approved to people that are onshore. So just to clarify, the legal changes that they are proposing, and as far as I'm aware, it hasn't been passed yet, but what they're proposing is that if you had applied for an offshore partner visa, let's say before COVID, so you've applied, you then came to Australia on a tourist visa, and then COVID hit and the borders shut and you were stuck onshore, but you have a pending offshore partner visa. By law, for the offshore partner visa to be approved to you, you must depart the country. So what they're proposing to change is that requirement so that you don't have to physically depart the country to have that partner visa approved. So it's not that they're going to allow people to apply for onshore, offshore partner visas. It's that they're going to allow those that already have pending offshore partner visas, or potentially those that apply for offshore partner visas in the future and then maybe come on a visitor visa or any other type of visa to enter the country, to have those offshore-based partner visas approved to them even though they're still in the country. Okay, it doesn't open the door to make things any easier to apply. It just opens the door for offshore partner visas to be approved. There's the potential for that to have long-term positive implications. Once COVID goes away, if the laws change, permanent change, and not just something to cover people during COVID, but if it's something that's in effect forever, then that means that it makes it a lot easier for couples that do eventually apply for offshore partner visas, come to Australia, spend time waiting for the offshore partner visa to process, and then not need to depart just to have the partner visa granted. It's going to save them a lot of money in not needing to book airfares and go through that hassle just to have the partner visa approved. So there's a lot of promise in what's in the effects that might have when that comes into effect. Next question. Awara. Hi Salvo. I have PR 189 for Australia. What is the best way to apply for a partner visa for my girlfriend? We are planning to get married soon. I prefer the 82801 route. I don't want 8503 on my girlfriend's visitor visa. Okay, first of all, there's no partner visas for girlfriends. Okay, there's partner visas for your de facto partner, or there's partner visas for your spouse, for your wife in this instance. So just to be clear, having a girlfriend doesn't entitle her to any visa at this point in time. In terms of what are the options, let's factor in everything that's in place at the moment, Awara. The borders are closed, okay? For people to come into Australia at the moment, there's two things that need to happen. They need to be granted a visa, a visitor visa, let's say in this instance, and a travel exemption. Your girlfriend will only be granted a travel exemption if you can show you are in a de facto or married relationship. So it's very unlikely that if you consider yourself to be in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, that your evidence is going to show that you're de facto. So that would make it, in my opinion, very difficult for her to get a travel exemption to come onshore and apply for the onshore partner visa. Of course, that is one option though. You can certainly try. Having a visitor visa refused or having a travel exemption refused doesn't stop you from applying for other visas in future. It's just I don't see that it's likely for her to get a travel exemption, especially understanding how inconsistent and unpredictable travel exemptions can be. Okay, in terms of alternative options, so yeah, you can try to get her a visitor visa and a travel exemption. I wouldn't hold my breath. If they are knocked back, or if you want another alternative, is to wait. You wait until the borders open and things normalize, and then maybe try to get her a visitor visa to come. In either of those two scenarios, assuming you get the travel exemption and assuming the visitor visa is granted, depending on her country of passport, I'm assuming if you're mentioning the subclass 600, she holds a country passport from, let's say, India, China, Vietnam, etc., then there's always the risk of a no further stay. Unfortunately, there's no way to guarantee that there won't be a no further stay. So that's just part of that process. It's just the natural risks associated in trying to come onshore. So you either try to bring onshore and apply onshore, that's option one. Option two is wait till the borders open and then try. Or three, yes, there's the potential maybe for you to go over there to get married, then try for travel exemptions to bring onshore, visitor visas to come onshore. Or if none of that works, then if you're at least married, it might open up the possibility to apply for the offshore partner visa. However, just being married doesn't mean that you're going to meet the partner visa criteria. Okay, a marriage certificate doesn't equal a partner visa. You need to prove that you are in a married relationship. In terms of what that means, the best way that I can teach you the definition and the legal requirements of being in a married relationship are for you to attend one of our free Partner Visa Secrets workshops. So there should be a link somewhere around this video for you to register and attend one of our workshops. It goes for about 2 hours or more. We host them every night except for Thursdays, of course, because I'm here. And you'll learn exactly what's required for all couples to get a partner visa approved, whether that's an offshore 309, an onshore 820, or an offshore prospective marriage visa. We cover all of them and we compare the differences. Next question. Hi Man, thank you for your live sessions and helping all of us. My pleasure, Facebook user. My question is regarding Partner Visa 309. Recent intended change announcement. In your experience, how likely is it to change the legislative requirement of 309 grants onshore? Will this early 2001 change happen, at least within the first quarter of 2021? I really can't add any more to that topic than what I mentioned earlier in the stream. Coincidentally, it was asked by somebody else. And I think that's the most exhaustive answer that I can give. We don't know when it's going to officially come into effect or when it's going to pass. There's a lot of speculation in terms of when specifically that is going to be. I can't give you any more clarity whether it's going to be in the first quarter necessarily, okay? Do I think that it's going to pass and become law? I would hope so, but unfortunately I'm not part of, I'm not a politician, so I'm not in that world, and I have no leverage. I have no say in terms of the laws that are passed in relation to partner visas. My job, our job as lawyers, is to understand the laws when they are passed, when they become law, and be able to advise people how those laws affect them and strategies to deal with legal changes if and when they come into effect. So I'm very sorry I can't really add any more to that topic than what I've already mentioned. Next question. Chris, hi Man, can I apply for a visitor visa now or do I have to wait till the borders open to the Philippines? Chris, if you're referring to applying for a visitor visa for a partner that's in the Philippines and trying to bring them here, okay, so I can't comment in terms of you going to the Philippines, okay, or applying for visitor visas to the Philippines or visa requirements for Australians to go to the Philippines. But in terms of Filipino partners coming to Australia, yes, you can apply for a visitor visa, but you also need to apply for a travel exemption. I mentioned that earlier in tonight's stream in terms of what's required. There's the travel exemption, there's also the visitor visa. You need to be able to show you are in a de facto or married relationship to get either or both approved, which is what's needed. If you would like a much more in-depth analysis of each of those requirements and everything else that people need to be factoring in if they're overseas trying to come, or if their partner's overseas and they're trying to bring them here, then please go to our YouTube channel. There's a Partner Visa Secrets episode. I think it's the title is COVID Partner Visa, how couples are affected by COVID and implications of COVID to partner visa, something along those lines. I think it's episode 5 or 6, somewhere around there, and it goes for about 45 minutes, and you'll see me break down each of those requirements in much more detail, Chris, and hopefully that will help. Next question from Grace from our YouTube channel. My partner and I are engaged and qualify for the PMV 300. We want to apply for the 309 on the basis of de facto by registering our relationship. We live apart and only have a few receipts of household. Do we qualify? Grace, there's no one single fact or piece of evidence or document that you could tell me that you have that will allow me to definitively tell you that you qualify for a 309 partner visa. That's just not how partner visa criteria works. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to understand what it means to be in a spousal relationship or in a de facto relationship for the 309 and even for those onshore for the 820, and understand what it means to show intention to marry for a prospective marriage visa, please attend one of our Partner Visa Secrets workshops. Again, it's free and it's the best partner visa training you'll find anywhere, I promise you. What I will say though, there's obviously that's a very relevant consideration. Couples that are engaged typically would always apply for a PMV. Typically if couples were long distance and spent most of the time of their relationship physically apart, typically that happens if couples meet overseas and then the Australian has to come back due to work or family commitments, or a couple meets online and then the Australian visits the applicant overseas and spends some time and does a bit of traveling, and then eventually they get engaged. Then they want to apply for a partner visa. In those types of scenarios, the PNV is where it kind of fits as the most appropriate, the most suitable. But the problem with the prospective marriage visas at the moment is that because the borders are closed, they are in some sense being put on hold, in the sense of that they are not being approved until couples can show that they are also in a de facto relationship. So we're finding that prospective marriage visas are being approved to couples that can also show they're de facto, because you also need to get a travel exemption. Only couples that have travel exemptions are being approved. The de facto are being approved travel exemptions. So we are hearing that what the government are doing is that they are going to process prospective marriage visas. So you can still apply for them. They're still going to be looked at and assessed by case officers. They'll get them to the point of a decision, and then they'll let the couple know that either they have the option to wait, so wait until the borders open, which we don't know when, and then they're going to approve it, or they'll approve it, understanding that if they approve it, you have 9 months to come into the country to get married. And if you have a prospective marriage visa approved and you're on a 9-month time frame, you may not be able to get a travel exemption to come in and get married, which is what is happening to many couples that have had prospective marriage visas approved. So that's the context of the PNV at the moment. That's why couples are tossing up whether they should apply for the PNV or the 309. I can't give a universal answer in terms of which couples should be applying for one or the other. Please do attend one of the workshops so you get a better understanding what the requirements are. What I will say, Grace, is that there's let's say a little known loophole where you can apply for a prospective marriage visa now, get it in the queue, and then later, if you and your partner get married overseas whilst the PNV is processing, you can always change it to a 309. So you can, let's say, switch it. So you're no longer being assessed against the 300, you're then being assessed against the 309. It means that you're not applying for the 309 too soon because you're not marrying now, you're marrying later. Which means your relationship is going to be in a much better position. So that is an alternative strategy that we are also discussing with couples where they want to submit a partner visa, they don't want to commit to the 309 yet for various reasons. They'll apply for the 309, understanding that there's the option to change that to an offshore 309 if they get married overseas whilst that visa is processing. So Grace, I suppose that's the most detailed that I can be in my answer to you specifically, but please do attend one of our workshops. Hi Martin, must a partner visa applicant attach their birth certificate? Look, your partner visa probably won't be refused if you can't attach a birth certificate. There's a lot of reasons why people may not have birth certificates, may have lost birth certificates, not have access to birth certificates. You need to be able to prove your identity for a partner visa to be granted to you or to the applicant. And there's certain documents that will tick that box, things like passports, birth certificates, family books. There's some other documents, official government documents that are issued to people from certain countries that shows the names of parents, etc. So, it's not that it's an absolutely compulsory document, but if you have a birth certificate and you have access to a birth certificate, it's always best to attach it. If you do not have a birth certificate or can't get a birth certificate, then you try to find an alternative official document that at least shows your parents' names and links you to your parents. That would be my advice to that scenario. Next question. I'll give it a second. I always know it's a big one when it takes a few seconds to load. Barun, hi man, thank you for the reply on police clearances last week. Today I have another query. I'm a sponsor and have applied for the partner visa subclass 309 for my wife on the 24th of December. At the time of application, we had just attached the minimum required documents, like marriage certificate and identity documents, and then attached other documents after a couple of months. I finally uploaded, so I suppose this question, or this scenario is just to generally summarize, is applying for your partner visa with minimal documentation and then looking to attach supporting documentation after lodgement. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. I finally uploaded almost most of the documents to support the statement and the 4 aspects of the relationship by July 2020. I'm currently attaching documents every month with the update on relationships. So the other kind of concept we're talking about here with Barun's question is updating your relationship evidence post-lodgement, okay? My question is, does it impact the application as I uploaded most of the documents after 6 months of application? Barun, no, okay? It doesn't matter when you upload documentation. What matters is the dates of those documents and that they date back prior to application, because you're trying to prove time of application you were in a de facto or married relationship. So you can attach documents post-lodgement and they will still be relevant to pre-lodgement facts as long as that's what they're dated. Note, status on the application is initial assessment. Don't worry about it. This is the third concept. The department, the IMI system status labels. Please disregard them, okay? They just cause a world of confusion and panic for people. They are just very generic and they do not update. The only updates you're going to get from the government, I'll close Barun's question. When a partner visa is submitted, the only times that the government are going to give you an update is when you lodge, because you get the receipt, you get the acknowledgement letter, and you get a bridging visa if you're applying from onshore. That's the official correspondence from the government. Then you continue to wait for your partner visa to be processed. You continue to update your relationship documentation as Barun has been doing. Keep your relationship evidence as current as possible. Then eventually, a couple of things might happen. The visa might be approved. Okay, so you'll get a decision, hopefully approved or refused. Okay, we're obviously hoping for approved, and the point of me being here is to answer questions so that we get you to approvals. The other thing that might happen is that you might receive a request for more information, documentation, maybe medicals, maybe police clearances, if those things have expired whilst the visa's been processing. Aside from those moments, you probably won't hear from them, okay? The only other alternative is if you're applying for an offshore visa and the case officer requests an interview, for yourself or for the applicant. That's very rare in my opinion, in my experience as well, but that might happen, okay? Aside from that, you're not going to hear from them. They're not going to give you status updates. You're not going to be able to get clear, definitive time frames as to how long your visa is going to be processing for. So please disregard the status labels on the IMI systems. They don't mean anything. The only things that mean anything are the actual correspondence you get from the government, okay, which is going to be receipt, acknowledgement letter, bridging visa for onshore, eventually a request for information, and then eventually a decision. That's it. Joseph, hey Salvo, I applied for a 39100 visa in July 2019. I applied and attached all papers needed for the visa. Yesterday I got an email requiring for new papers versions. Am I getting my visa soon? Joseph, I can't tell you whether you will or won't get the visa. Firstly, I don't know anything about your facts, your case, what you've given them, so I can't answer that definitively. However, in my experience, if you're receiving requests for documentation, that certainly means that it's moving and it means that it's being looked at, which therefore should mean that you will get a decision soon after. How quickly soon is, I can't say, but at least it's outside of that window of you not hearing anything, which is what I call the sounds of silence. So it sounds like you've moved outside the sounds of silence and you're now in they're processing your application stage. They've requested more information from you. The next thing that you will hear from them, as I just mentioned before, hopefully is your approval, okay? If you read what they're requesting and provide them what they're requesting, okay? Good luck, Joseph. Another one from Joseph. So after 17 months, that's the first time they contacted us. I'm really stressed. We called them many times and they didn't give us an answer to know where our visa. Joseph, that's very normal. Unfortunately, that's just how this works, okay? All you can do here is read what's been requested and attach what's been requested to your application, to the pending application, okay? You contacting the embassy or the department trying to get updates or speaking to someone won't work. You cannot speak to anyone personally that has any knowledge of your case. You can't contact case officers directly. 10 years ago, when I started in the industry, we used to be able to call case officers and have conversations with them. Those days are gone, okay? It's all centralized processing. It's all anonymous. We don't know who's looking at what. We don't know which case is allocated where. It's all very secret. So the only thing you can do is listen to what's been asked, read what's been asked, make sure you address those requests, update and attach your documents to the portal, and that's it. Okay, that's the best that you can do. That's what you have the power and control over. Hi, Martin. To initiate stage 2 of 309-100, does my spouse need to create a new application in her IMI account to be supplied additional documents? Yes, there is specifically a stage 2 form that needs to be completed. It's going to be in the same area as the first stage form. You should see it will say stage 2 permanent partner visa, something along those lines. Complete that form, you submit, there's no payment. You don't need to pay the government any more money. You've already paid them when you submitted the initial combined application. And that's where you attach your up-to-date supporting documentation, your relationship documentation. Next question. Hi, my partner and I are in a serious relationship for 4 years, but we only have 2 pictures with each other. We wanted to get married last year, but because of COVID, we could not. Can we apply for the 300? Masa, the requirement for the 300 for the prospective marriage visa is that you and your partner intend to marry. You have a genuine intention to marry and that you've met in person, okay? So if you have photos of each other, even though it's only 2, that demonstrates that you've met in person, so that's 1 box ticked. Then you also need to show you intend to marry, okay? In terms of what that means, the definition of intention to marry and the other requirements of the prospective marriage visa, please attend one of our workshops. There's a link around this video for you to save your seat. After that session, I promise you'll understand more about the PMV and you'll be in a better position to answer that question for yourself because you know your relationship facts more than I do based on what you've just mentioned here. So you'll be able to self-assess a little bit more confidently, okay? And if after the workshop you still have questions and you would like us to help you with the process, you're welcome to contact us from there, okay? But Masha, it sounds like you tick the 2 main boxes for the PMV. You've met in person and you want to marry, but you need to prove those things, okay? So please have a look at the workshop and I'll explain what that means. Next question. Hi Martin, is the family negatively or positively affect the visa? Meaning, if some of the family does not agree to marriage, can it affect the visa application? So, if we're talking about the onshore 820 or the offshore 309, or even let's say the prospective marriage visa, so all partner visas in all honesty, you do have to show the social aspects of the relationship. Okay, it's one of the 4 aspects that are going to be looked at. They're going to look at your household, if you live together, how you live together, what your home life is like. They're going to look at your financial aspects. Do you support each other financially? Do you pool your finances? They're going to look at your social aspects. Are your friends and family aware of the relationship? And lastly, the nature of your commitment to one another. Now, those still do apply for prospective marriage visas. So there's a little bit of a misconception that you don't need to show the 4 aspects for the PMV. That's not true. I talk about that in the workshop. So I'm just going to say blanket that you need to show all 4 aspects as best you can for all visa types, all partner visa types. In terms of the scenario where a couple do not have the support of family members, that doesn't mean that they're not going to get a partner visa or that they can't meet partner visa criteria. However, you do need to explain that. It is important to address that head on. And the opportunity to talk about that is in your relationship statements. So couples should all be writing relationship statements where you talk about your history, how your relationship progressed, what you see it in future as being. You talk about the 4 aspects. You talk about the social aspect within those 4 aspects. And in that social aspect, you want to be discussing the fact that for various reasons, sometimes cultural, sometimes religious, that certain members of the family are not supportive of this relationship. Because if you don't address it head on, the case officer might question why you can't get supporting statements from your family or from those relatives that aren't supportive of the relationship. But the partner visa doesn't require that your mum and dad and uncles and aunties are all supportive, but you do need to show your social aspects. You need to show that your friends and family know about the relationship to the best of your ability. So if you're limited in terms of what you can give the government, specifically you can't get supporting statements from these key people in your life, you want to be explaining that in your statements because the case officer needs to understand what's happening. So don't pretend that it isn't an issue. Just address it head on in your relationship statements and try to get supporting statements from everybody else, okay? For anyone that wants to know how to write relationship statements properly, you can have a look at this resource. Let me just close this down. This is our perfect relationship statement guide and template pack. Guys, there might be a link somewhere around this video for you to buy your copy. It has, I think we have 10 examples of relationship statements that were written by our own clients, our own couples. So the examples in that book are modeled from relationship statements that were used in successful partner visa cases. So you can see how those couples spoke about their relationship, their history, their 4 aspects, their plans for the future. It's a great resource. I promise you it's going to help you write your statements more effectively. Next question. Hi, Man. In your experience, is it possible for a 70-year-old sponsor and a 50-year-old applicant to be successful in obtaining a partner visa? We have been in a relationship for 7 years, but not married or living together. Love is ageless, okay? So I'll say that quickly. That's my opening remark to that question. Love is ageless. Secondly, age gaps are okay? Having an age gap in a relationship doesn't mean that the relationship isn't genuine. Where age gaps can be used by case officers as a mechanism to refuse a partner visa is if it's so distinct that it causes the case officer to question the genuineness of that relationship, okay? So let's put it into context. If you are a 20-year-old male and you want to marry a 50-year-old female or a 40-year-old female, that's going to pose more questions than the other way around. And unfortunately, that's just the fact of the matter. That is sexism in its true form, but it is true, okay? You have to put yourself in the position of a case officer, what is socially acceptable and what is known to be normal or common. So the less common the age gap seems, the higher the chance it's going to be scrutinized, okay? So if we're talking about a 70-year-old applicant and a 50-year-old sponsor, no problems. If you're talking about a 70-year-old sponsor and a 50-year-old applicant, that causes more questions because it may cause a case officer to question the genuineness of that relationship. Is the applicant in that relationship purely to secure a visa outcome? They look at that cynically, or can look at age gaps cynically. Generally speaking, age gaps is what we're talking about here. They look at it cynically because they want to protect the Australian sponsors from relationships that aren't real. And not that the Australian ever, they're not questioning the Australian's intentions. They're always questioning the applicant's intentions, okay? So generally speaking, age gaps are not a problem. You just have to address it, okay? Again, like I mentioned in my previous answer, you need to be addressing age gaps in relationship statements and explain what's happening. That way you take the power away from the age gap and you give the case officer the explanation. And then that's all you can really do. So that's the long answer. The short answer is, can you still get the partner visa? Yes, you can. Next question. Hi, Man. I've been with my partner for the past 7 years. Got married here in Australia in September 2019. Her visa expired in February 2020. Went back home, then COVID started. Which is the best visa to bring her back to Oz, and can this be done offshore? Any help? Much appreciated. depending where she's from, will determine the visa that she might be able to apply for, okay? Realistically, there's only 3 types of visas that would be most commonly suitable for partners of Australians to come to Australia right now, okay? And that is an ETA if your partner holds a passport from a certain list of countries, and an e-visitor, which is very similar to the ETA, or a subclass 600 visitor visa. So 3 different types of visitor visas. Which one your partner may be able to apply for will depend on their country of passport. So that is the first option, is to apply for a visitor visa and a travel exemption for your partner on the basis of your married relationship, okay? That is, grounds to be granted travel exemptions is if you're in a married relationship, and potentially try to bring them to Australia and then apply for an onshore partner visa, keeping them here onshore on their bridging visa with work rights, waiting for that partner visa to be decided. That's the first strategy, is what I call a throw at the stumps at getting them in on travel exemptions and visitor visas to then apply onshore. The alternative is to wait, don't do anything, or try strategy 1, and if that doesn't work, wait till the borders open, then try to bring them in on a visitor visa, ETA, e-visitor, whatever it might be, to then apply for an onshore. Or 3 is to apply for an offshore partner visa, okay? Now, in my opinion, I think it makes the most sense in most cases not to follow with step 3 or option 3 or strategy 3. Strategy 1 and 2 really make the most sense at this point in time. Realistically, the only types of relationships or scenarios where applying for an offshore partner visa would most likely be the most appropriate option is if the couple are both overseas and you're living together overseas and you have no intention to come to Australia within the next year or 2, okay? Understanding that offshore partner visa processing times, on average, we think will take a couple of years. So applying for an offshore partner visa doesn't bring people here quickly, it isn't likely to be approved quickly. It's a long-term game plan. And therefore, it would be most suitable to couples that are living together overseas. And they just want to apply for a partner visa. They want to get it into the pipeline, get it into the queue, continue living their lives, and then eventually when COVID goes away and life goes back to normal, and eventually when the partner visa is approved, then they'll come. Okay, but if you're physically separated, I wouldn't try strategy 3 as the first attempt. I would try to get them here first, then try to apply for an onshore partner visa. That doesn't work, you wait, or last resort, maybe you then consider the offshore. Next question. My partner is here on a tourist visa for 12 months, but has a condition she can't be here for more than 3 months at a time. I'll add the next part of that question. If I apply for a partner visa, does the bridging visa start when one of the 3 months requirement passes, or at the end of the 12-month tourist visa? Okay, Erjan, the bridging visa will come into effect after the lapse of her period of stay. Okay, so what you've described is that your partner has a visitor visa that's valid for 12 months. What that means is that she must be in the country by, there's a must enter by date, which will be 12 months from when it was approved. So if this was approved on the 1st of January 2020, okay, let's assume this is when the visa was approved, the 12 months validity will expire on the 1st of January 2021, okay? And you're going to see something that says must enter by. That means that the last date that she can use that visa to come in is on the 1st of January 2021, okay? However, let's say that she comes in, or he comes in, sorry, I'm assuming, let's say he or she comes in, that's Australia, guys, I'm sorry if you can't see. Let's say your partner comes in on the, let's use today's date, or ish, close to today's date, the 1st of December 2020, okay? They have 3 months on this period of stay. So this lapses 3 months from this date, which is January, February, March. The 1st of March 2021, okay? Even though it's beyond this point, the period of stay lapses 3 months from their entry. That's what you've mentioned, that they have 3 months on each entry. So, if they come in on the 1st of December and you apply for the partner visa at some point here, the bridging visa will be issued instantly. Oh, running out of screen there. Bridging visa A will be issued instantly, but it stays in the background until this expires. Expires on the 1st of March. So at 12:01 a.m. on the 2nd of March, your partner's on their bridging visa. Okay, that is how those 3 months period of stay operates. As long as the person is in the country before the must enter date by, even if it's the day before, they get 3 months from when they enter. Then, if you apply for the partner visa within that 3 months, the bridging visa only kicks in, only comes into effect once the 3 months expires, which means they can't work. They can only work once they're on the BVA, which has nil conditions, therefore full work rights. I hope that answers your question, Erjan. Next question. Just letting everyone know, we'll finish up in around 10 minutes, guys, around 8 p.m. Brisbane time. Hi, Martin. Me and my partner are getting married soon onshore and going overseas and applying for an offshore visa. Is this crazy? Is there any news about offshore visas? Gabriella, is this crazy? I mean, crazy is subjective. So what I think is crazy may not be what you think is crazy or what the next person thinks is crazy. Is it safe? Probably not. Is it the best option? Maybe not. Okay. Have you considered applying for an onshore partner visa? Okay. It really depends what your plans are here. If you guys are planning on going overseas and staying overseas, then yes, applying for the offshore partner visa makes sense in that scenario. Like I mentioned just before, you know, the strategy of applying for an offshore partner visa really is best suited to couples that know they're going to be overseas together for a couple of years and there's no plans to return because they have obligations and reasons to be overseas, but they just want to apply for a partner visa and get it in. If there's the likelihood that you want to come back in the next year or two, then depending on your facts, depending on all of your information, it might be worth applying for the partner visa onshore before your current visa expires, okay? So depending how much time you have left on your visa, depending how strong your relationship facts are, and please attend one of my workshops so you understand what I'm talking about here. Timed application, so if, you know, when you're applying for the partner visa, everything's strong and you meet all the requirements and you have all your documents in order, then, you know, applying for the onshore partner visa, getting your bridging visa issued, then applying for a travel bridging visa, which allows you to go for 12 months, you know, maybe that's the better option. Because if you're looking to come back in within 12 months, at least you can on the BVB. And then you have your BVA here with full work rights again. So, you know, you've got a bit of flexibility there. You can travel, but you still have the right to be in Australia whilst you wait for that onshore partner visa. Versus applying for the offshore partner visa, there's no bridging visa. There's no right to stay in the country for any long period of time whilst you're waiting for that visa. If you're looking to come in whilst you're waiting for an offshore partner visa, you need to apply for other visas. Most of them are temporary. Most of them are very discretionary. Most of them, you know, maybe you can renew once or twice, but eventually the government's going to say, you don't have a right to be here permanently. You have an offshore partner visa, go overseas. So it really depends what your plans are, Gabriella. If your plans are to come back within the foreseeable future, it might be better to apply for an onshore partner visa, get your bridging visa, get your BVB, and then go. Okay? Understand though that even if you have your BVB at the moment with the borders being closed, you need to apply for travel exemptions to come back. So obviously there's COVID considerations. So is it crazy for you to apply offshore? I can't say, okay? But there's a few things there to factor in. Not sure how, but it seems questions are answered through Facebook. So this stream is going live across multiple platforms. It's going live to our Facebook page, to my personal Facebook profile, to our Facebook group, and to our YouTube channel through the power of magic, okay? So where you are seeing the question is unique to you, but anyone can interact with this stream regardless of where you are, okay? So if you're seeing the stream on Facebook, you can ask the question on Facebook. If you're seeing the stream on YouTube, you can ask the question on YouTube. Okay, guys, I'm just working through some of the questions, seeing what I can answer in the time that we have left. Thank you for answering that. I'm sorry, I don't know what the question was specifically. It's just part of the problem, me not being able to identify some Facebook users. Thank you for answering that. It's a relief. Sorry, I have one more question on the attached document section at the bottom of the page. There is a tab, I confirm I've provided the information as requested. Can I click on that now, or should I wait for the application to be assigned to the case officer? Also, can I attach for the document after clicking it? Yes, you can click it. Yes, you can attach documents after clicking it, okay? We don't really understand what that button does practically. There's no, it doesn't change the waiting times. It doesn't change any notifications from case officers. From what we understand, it might notify a case officer when certain documents have been attached if you've confirmed that everything's been attached. But it doesn't mean you can't attach documents after, okay? So yes, you can click it. Yes, you can attach documents after. My husband from Morocco, and I've been married for 2 years now. We were married in Morocco. I was told the only visa we can apply for is his partner visa. Is this correct? Look, there are really only a very finite amount of visas to Australia, okay? And statistically speaking, visas that allow someone to stay in the country permanently or for a long-term basis can be summarized as partner visas, which is the majority of them, sponsored visas, if you are sponsored by an employer, an Australian company in a skilled role, and if you tick a lot of boxes and jump over a lot of hurdles, or skilled, if you meet a points test and you beat other people that are also trying to apply under skilled visas under certain occupations. Also very difficult and complex. That's about it, guys. There really isn't anything else statistically that grants permanent residency, and that's why we focus on partner visas, because I know that's where the majority of people need help. In terms of your husband being able to come to Australia for short periods of stay, Moroccan passport holders can apply for visitor visas. It's probably going to be the subclass 600 visitor visa. So there's the option for your husband to come in on that visitor visa and then maybe apply for an onshore partner visa. So I suppose it depends what you're asking me here. If you're asking me, how can I bring my husband to Australia permanently? Yes, it's very likely going to be the partner visa. If you're asking me, how can I bring my partner from Morocco for a short visit, or how can I bring them here to then apply for an onshore partner visa? It's going to be most likely the subclass 600 visitor visa. The only kind of additional advice there that I'll give or comment that I'll add to that is you have to be very careful with the subclass 600, because there is the ability for a case officer to impose what's known as a no further stay condition, which would stop you from being able to apply for an onshore partner visa unless you waive the no further stay, which is its own process and unpredictable in its own. So just understand that. The way to reduce the risks of a no further stay being imposed, spouse of an applicant, you can sponsor them for the family sponsored stream for the 600, but that will have a mandatory no further stay condition, assuming it's approved, okay? So you can get a visitor visa approved through the family sponsored stream, but if it's approved, it's going to have a no further stay, which stops you from applying for an onshore partner visa. So there's the option of applying to just the general tourist stream, which has a discretionary no further stay condition, meaning it may or may not be imposed. So that's your best kind of option there, likely. So I hope that answers that question. I'll answer a couple more, guys, and then I've got a funny one next, not relevant to partner visas. Hi, man. My partner and I have been together for 5 years, and we have civil partnerships for 3 years. We applied for the partner visa in April last year. Are we a strong candidate for permanent partner visa? I'll just reread that. I've been in a partner relationship for 5 years, and we have a civil partnership for 3 years. If you were in a long-term de facto relationship for 3 years prior to application, then there's the potential for the permanent partner visa to be approved to you when eventually they decide the temporary, okay? So I see what you're saying, that you were together for 5 years. I assume that's what you mean. I mean, if you mean you're 5 years in total from when you applied, it may not be that you were in a long-term relationship prior to application. But just to summarize, what we're talking about here is what leads to the permanent stage being approved at the same time. Okay, what combination of factors can lead to that decision being made? The first is if, yes, you're in a long-term married or de facto relationship for 3 years prior to application. That doesn't mean that you were dating for 2 years, then became de facto for 1 year, then applied. That's not long-term de facto. That's just a 3-year relationship. You're only de facto for a year in that equation. So that's one ground that the permanent may be approved to use if you're in a de facto or married relationship for 3 years prior to application. Unless there's children, then it reduces that requirement. The other scenario where they might approve the permanent stage together is if the visa is processing for 2 years or more. So if you've applied for the application, you're waiting for 2 years and it hasn't been decided, when it's decided, it's an option for a case officer to approve the permanent and the temporary together. Not compulsory, they may or may not. You sometimes don't know, okay? The third scenario is at the moment. Just generally with COVID, what we're finding, for many of our client cases is that the government will approve both the permanent and the temporary, even if the couple were not in a long-term, de facto or married relationship prior to application and have not been waiting for 2 years. So they decided the application, within 2 years or less than 2 years. We're still seeing in certain instances that they're approving the temporary and the permanent together. Okay, so Nicolette, it sounds like there's certainly scope. I would need to know more about your facts, but at the end of the day, all of that is discretionary. Okay, so it sounds like you're in with a shot, and all you can do really from here is just make sure you continue to update your relationship documentation, keep your application as current as possible, and eventually, hopefully, you'll get both those approvals. Okay, guys, I will answer one more question. Last question for the night, guys. If I have not been able to get to your question, please go to our Facebook group, Partner Visa Secrets Facebook group, and ask your questions in there, and we will try to get to it as quickly as we can. Even if we don't get to the questions, that group has now over 4,000 people specifically that are looking into and interested in partner visas. So we're finding that we're building a very large community of people that are helping each other. Okay, so if we don't get to your question during the week in the group, other members will be able to assist in some sense. Please understand they're not registered migration agents, but they're speaking from personal experience. So again, if I haven't got to your question tonight, I do apologize. I can only answer so many in an hour. That's why it's always best to shop early and ask your questions early, because I always answer them in chronological order, or at least try to. So last question for the night. Hi, Martin. I'm on a student visa that expires on the 1st of January 2024. Me and my partner were married in September 2020. We're expecting a baby to be born in May 2021. Should I apply for the partner visa after the baby's born, or should I wait 2 or 3 years in order to strengthen our evidence and then apply for the 82801 together? Faisal, in my experience, whenever there's children associated, there's a very high likelihood that the permanent stage partner visa is going to be approved whenever it's decided. Okay, so I don't see that there's a benefit in waiting in most instances when there's children associated, because that typically leads to the decision of the permanent being approved. Okay, Faisal, what I'll just say though is just speaking about your situation in a little bit more detail. Given that you're still on a student visa until 2024, you're applying for the partner visa doesn't mean that you can stop studying, okay? You have conditions, obligations under that student visa. You must keep studying, must keep paying your school fees, must keep going to class. If you stop doing any of those things, then that can lead to the cancellation of your student visa. It means you're going to lead yourself on a BVE, Bridging Visa E, which will have no work rights. You'll have to apply for work rights. If there's a child, it's very likely you'll get work rights, but you still have to go through that application process, which can be a little bit stressful for people. So I just wanted to touch on that. There's an episode on our YouTube channel where I talk about applying for a partner visa on a student visa. Please check it out if you haven't already. Okay, guys, that wraps up tonight's live Q&A. Thank you to everyone who's attended across the multiple platforms. Next week will be our final live, okay, before the Christmas break. Here's a quick slide, for those that don't know who I am personally. As I said before, guys, I'm a registered migration agent, immigration lawyer, author. I've written a book to help you write your relationship statements. That's me holding that book. I've studied law, I've got fancy legal qualifications. I'm a husband, a father. My family migrated from South America a long, long time ago. And I used to play soccer, and I like technology, makes me a bit of a nerd. And if anyone is interested about why you can trust what I'm saying, why you can trust my agency, my company, Salvo Migration, there should be a link around this video to download our partner visa approvals booklet. That booklet contains over 50 partner visa approvals that we've secured for our clients in what is now over 6 years operating as an agency. Okay, we have a 99% success rate, and you'll see all our partner visas approvals in that booklet. In addition to that, we have over 70 verified written reviews. You will not find a bad review anywhere online. What should you do next? For anyone who's asking themselves that question, please register for the Partner Visa Secrets Workshop. There's a link around this video to register. I promise you it's worth attending, especially as early as possible in your timeline, okay? So if you found yourself in this stream tonight or just kind of stumbled on our videos and our content early on in your kind of research phase of your relationship, or maybe you're even just starting to look into things, definitely attend the workshop, because the sooner you put the things in place that I talk about in the workshop, the better prepared your application will be, the stronger your relationship will be, and the higher chance of a partner visa being approved to you. Please visit our partner visa resources page. There's a range of free and paid resources that you guys can check out. If you guys are interested in using a lawyer and agency, you're welcome to leave an inquiry with us. There should be a link around this video, and I will see you all same time next week for our final live Q&A for the year. I might try to decorate it a bit more with a few more Christmas ornaments. I tried to sneak a couple in. I'm not sure if anyone noticed the big wobbling tree or the crackers. I'll try to fit a few more in. Might be a lot of tinsel everywhere for the last stream of this year. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you all next week.